Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is well. Welcome to the fourth episode of my podcast, Book and Story World, with author Priya Grewal. So, I do predominantly write fantasy and horror books, which are all on Amazon in paperback or on Kindle. So, today, for my fourth episode of Book and Story World with author Priya Grewal myself, I have decided to read all three short horror stories from one of my earlier books called An Anthology of Short Horror Stories, The Courtyard, Your Best Friend's Wardrobe, and Demon in the Computer. And for my subtitle on the book cover, it says Short Horror Stories for a Thrill. So let's dive in. So the first story is called The Courtyard. Chapter 1. Janice had always envied Joshua. He was always surrounded by boys and girls in the school courtyard. She had to witness the sickening scene of a large group of boys and a few girls looking at him adoringly since year 7. Always talking about the latest music videos or last night's episode of EastEnders Big Brother or the American film that played on Channel 4 on a Sunday night. Janice had tried watching some American films but hated all the reminders of Joshua in it. She's all that, she fought alone, all male Joshua reminders. May as well have turned her into an American hater, land of the Joshuas. They were in year 12 now, almost 17, and Janice continued to watch Joshua through narrowed eyes with her two friends Annalise and Mindy. 6 years here and we're still only friends with each other, said Annalise. Charming, said Mindy. Go and talk to some other people then. No, said Annalise. I thought we looked more popular if we only talked to one another. We do, Janice said. Don't talk to any girls less attractive than ourselves. Then we're still a thing, a trio. We're still copying that trio of girls from year 12 when we were in year 7. It was just 2 chicks standing with the Priya's girl in the year. That's why it was a thing. Does that mean Joshua is the best looking kid in our year? Asked Annalise. That's why the crowd around him has an effect and we're just looking in? No, Janice seethed. He's an ugly dog. You're probably going to grow some warts tomorrow now you said that, remarked Mindy. Whatever, Janice said, itching her face for a second. The three of them had done a dance the year before in the school talent show. It still didn't get them the glory Joshua naturally had since the first term in school. It was the annoying effect of there being more popular members of the year group in the audience. They had enjoyed the attention some of the males paid them in the year above, made them feel sexy for the year, but the effect of some males from the year above standing around them didn't equal the presence of Joshua in the year and the number of people who stood around him. Janice didn't get crushes the way they described sometimes in books or in that song from 1997, Jennifer Page Crush, she thought to herself. She just felt envious of Joshua, who actually was the best-looking child in the year versus the girls too. He had a pretty girlfriend in another school in the area called Carla, who Janice would never call pretty out loud. She looked friendly and smiled a lot, described as intelligent for some reason. When it lasted more than a month, Janice groaned. Now more people in another school knew Joshua. Couldn't he have just been satisfied being teen royalty in his own school, Janice thought. Don't think anyone even knows my name outside of the band yet, Janice thought to herself. The year group was split into bands from year 7 to 11, now they were in 6th form, which meant some people left and some newbies came in. Unfortunately, no new boys came in to rival Joshua, who Janice, Annalise and Mindy could try and stick themselves to for a mixed gender group to stand in the courtyard with, Janice mused. Joshua's female friends were probably happy about his girlfriend from Lampfield High, as it meant that they were becoming more well-known too with out of school, and Janice and her friends were still in school, she thought to herself. Can't believe an entire other school knows who Joshua is and his friends get to say hello to people from Lampfield High, Janice said out loud. I bet you wish you were kissing him instead of Carla, said Mindy. I wonder if they're going to have sex soon, she asked. Nearly legal, 17. 16 is the legal age to have sex, you moron, said Annalise. 17 sounds like the ideal high school age to me, said Mindy. Janice and Annalise laughed. Stop calling it high school. We're in England. It's called secondary school, said Janice. Stop acting so high school about secondary school then, Mindy barked back. I'm not a dumbass, just keeping up with the times, Mindy added. High school, that's all I'll call it, Mindy muttered to herself. American high school theme, said Mindy. Isn't that when we're all just jealous? I'm not jealous, Janice snapped. I'm just sick of Joshua being treated like he's some king around here. It's just popularity, said Mindy. He's probably nice to everyone. The outside reflects the inside, I guess. So, do you wish you were kissing him instead of Carla? Stop saying her name, Janice snapped again. The more attention you give her, the more popular she will become here too. And no, I don't wish I was kissing Joshua instead of his girlfriend. I'd rather kiss a pig. Annalise laughed. I wonder if anyone will ask us out this year so we can start kissing dudes too. Who cares, Janice said. Forget the in-school losers. May as well join social media and try and get dates outside of school too. Skip over in school and catch up to Joshua. Janice said, as she saw a girl throw her arms over Joshua to hug him. He looked taken aback and tapped her on the back like he was her grandfather. The school bell went. Annalise, Mindy and Janice got up from the stairs they were sitting on and headed into the school building. Was that girl from the year above hugging Joshua? Janice asked as they walked through the school doors. Chapter 2. Janice dropped her school bag on the floor once she reached home and entered her bedroom. She flopped down on her bed. I wish I wasn't so jealous, Janice thought to herself. I'm still thinking about this crowd scene when I get home, she mused. Janice pondered always being affected by the mixed gender group standing around Joshua. It made her nearly want to cry. It just looked like the in crowd to her. She squirmed inside when she walked around the school courtyard with Annalise and Mindy and clapped eyes on them. The scene of popularity. Janice thought about American TV and the concept of popularity and thought she'd be jealous with or without the high school concept on TV. Then the reminders would be the Tudors or Macbeth. She got jealous when boys and girls in her own section of the year mentioned Joshua, males commenting on him being a nice guy, girls wanting to talk about him because he was the best-looking male, giggling a little when he spoke to them. We're not too bad-looking, Janice thought to herself, me, Annalise and Mindy, better than a lot of the horrors around here. Maybe they'd been witches saying things in reverse about appearances since reception class. Janice laughed to herself. Had Joshua ever approached her or her two friends? No, Janice thought. None of them had captured his attention for him to come over and talk to themselves. A glance at most. The last straw had been in year 7. Janice attended some groups outside of school. She attended a dance class for under 15s and had a great time. She liked having a couple of friends who were girls outside of school too. She thought this looked cool to others in her band in the year. Janice was very confident when it came to dancing and thought she was the best in the group. But no, with Joshua around, dancing didn't get to become a bigger thing than himself. Neither did the school play or any of the talent shows or any other kind of show either. He may as well have made non-participation cooler, but she wanted to be a part of the talent shows for all the males in the other year groups to see her too, so she still participated. Janice recalled feeling her heart plummet to her stomach when her friends from dance class asked if she knew Joshua. Who? She had said. Do you know a guy called Joshua in your year? Asked her friend Hazel. Apparently he's really good at English, commented her other friend Lena. Oh, Joshua, feigned Janice. I know who you're talking about. He's in another band in the year. Haven't really spoken to him yet. Good at English? How did they know he was good at English? Not my fault if I didn't bother reading as many of the books in the book corner in primary school to get good at story writing, thought Janice to herself. Now good at English is becoming a thing, she grumbled in her head, heart filling with disdain for Joshua. He's so good looking, said Hazel. I love seeing him around the high street with his mum, she gushed, around the mall. It's called Trinity Centre, not the mall, snapped Janice. He's so cute, said Lena. I wish I was in the same school. How did you know he was good at English, asked Janice. You're not even in the same school. A girl knew in one of our classes, explained Hazel. Not sure how, we just talk about him sometimes when we've seen him around the town centre. I hope he looks at me the next time I see him. Let's follow him around next time, said Lena. The girls laughed. Ha ha ha, said Janice, forcefully joining in with a grimace. Hopefully he dies, Janice had thought at the time. Janice stopped pondering the past and snapped back to the present. Now a few years later, an entire other school knows who he is, thought Janice, and he speaks to the friends of his girlfriend Carla, Janice thought. It's just not fair, Janice said out loud to herself. Now, not only does Lampfield High all know who he is, but he also speaks to them and is friendly with the same year group there. I haven't even reached glory in the year group yet, thought Janice. No boyfriend, zilch on that front, and she couldn't be bothered to work hard enough to get great grades. Just as long as she passes and gets into sixth form, she had pledged to herself. 5 passes, that'll do. She wanted to spend her time at dance group, not doing homework and taking notes and memorizing them for exams, doing revision. She rolled her eyes. I wish there was a way to remove him, Janice thought to herself. If he disappeared, the entire year group would change, and herself could climb to the top of the year group. She may even be the best-looking kid in the year with him removed. Janice laughed, thinking about quoting Lord of the Rings in her head. Instead of a king, a queen, powerful and glorious, etc., etc. Maybe she would be queen of the school that way. The top character in those point horror books she used to read. The Michael character in top place, whom everyone wanted to stand around. Janice's thoughts wandered to Scream and all the slasher movies she had watched about American teenagers going on killing sprees. It wouldn't be a spree to be top dog in the school, she thought. Just the removal of one, of Joshua. Janice smiled at her dark thoughts and switched on her radio. Chapter 3. Janice took a seat next to Annalise and Mindy during sixth form assembly that morning. Oh, great, Janice whispered to Annalise and Mindy. It's Joshua's tutor group's turn to do assembly, like he's not centre of attention all the time anyway, and now everyone is going to look at him for the next half an hour. Could be worse, said Mindy. At least it's not about sports like when we were in year 7 and they added the word respectively to the end of every sentence for PE time assembly. The girls laughed. Oh yeah, said Annalise, and everyone's just staring into space, wondering why they're not getting any awards for any subject when they've been putting effort in and putting their hand up in class all year round. At least Joshua never gets any awards like the rest of us, added Mindy. That makes it worse, said Janice. The cool thing I'm being rumoured to be good at humanities. Apparently he's good at history too. Some suspected B grading going on in his English class at the moment. Just backfires and makes him cooler. Moron teachers, added Janice. Suspected B grading, squealed Mindy. Just suspected, Janice hurriedly added. Anyway, just means he's more laid back now. The younger students can't wait to be B graded by the same teacher and have their new rules about who gets awards and who doesn't. Going to start celebrating when they don't get subject awards and go from top to bottom of the class with the same teacher, explained Janice. What's the point in school, said Mindy. Everyone's going American crazy. The head of year called for their attention and everyone hushed. Joshua's tutor group started their assembly on why we celebrate Lent, and Janice glared at Joshua as he read his piece out from the paper and sat back down. Why couldn't that be me up there, thought Janice. I want to say a quick piece on Lent and read from the paper and sit back down like I've got no ego or high self-esteem. Why do the teachers have to be so nice to me? Just turn us into the dorks, thought Janice, the non-hated on ones. At least she didn't get any subject awards, Janice thought to herself. Would have been practically humiliating. Joshua was glancing down, listening to the rest of his tutor group do assembly. His black hair was gelled and he looked sort of heavenly, eyes cast to the floor. He suddenly glanced up, blue eyes flashing. Janice quickly glanced away as it looked like he clapped his eyes on herself. She wondered if her eyes were displaying her true feelings. It was just for a moment, and Joshua turned his head to watch the rest of his tutor group. Her heart didn't thud when he looked at her. Instead, it quickened in fear for a second with all the jealous ranting and raving she did about him. At least I'm not two-faced or a snake, Janice told herself, making herself concentrate fully on the rest of Joshua's tutor group. I'm not a fake friend kissing his arse and having the rants and raves behind his back. Snakes come in many forms, a little voice inside her head told herself. The buzzer went, and the sixth formers got up from their seats as their head of year thanked Joshua's tutor group for their assembly. Chapter 4. Janice was laying on her bed at home with the radio on again. She was in a bad mood from everyone talking about Joshua and assembly. It just wasn't fair, she thought to herself. She tried so hard saying hello and being friendly to all the boys in class. She even tried to make conversation with a couple of the less attractive girls in class, to make herself as well liked as possible. But no one would start coming up to herself for Annalise and Mindy to speak to. She tried curling her hair and going to the mall, but no one would be talking about herself in other schools or out-of-school activities. She wasn't being adored by boys in basketball class or football, wherever the boys went to play outside of school. The way girls mentioned Joshua in her dance classes, now attending the 15 to 18 one. She had heard of the place goals and dreamed she could be a cheerleader there at the same place as the boys. But no, they lived in England, so no cheerleaders to try and catch up in popularity like they put in the American TV shows and point horror books. Maybe her, Annalise and Mindy should try and make their next dance provocative at the next talent show, cause some controversy and get some attention that way. Get on the committee for one of the charity week events at school and feel like big dons that way, in the talent show and heading one of the shows up. Janice started thinking about the slasher movies she loved to watch, grinning at them, wishing she could do the same to Joshua since around year 7. She was almost 17, the same age as the teenagers in the movies. Janice rolled onto her side and looked at herself in the mirror and smiled. "I'm going to do it," she whispered to herself. "I'm going to kill Joshua." Janice sat up on her bed and smiled widely in the mirror. Chapter 5. It's not going to be that hard, Janice thought to herself. I just need a knife, easy enough. I won't use the kitchen knife in case my mum or dad notice it gone, she thought to herself. I'll just go to a store in the high street and get a nice 9-inch big one for myself to use and put it in my school bag and keep it in there at home until used. Shall I throw it in the river or stash it away at home afterwards, she thought. No one's ever actually going to drain the river like on TV to find the knife. Oh yeah, and I'll wear gloves for no fingerprints so I don't have to worry. Janice planned. Thank the Lord for the TV, she thought. Her mind briefly flickered to God, and she said out loud, muttering to herself, there is no God anyway, just high school and our legacies after. She wasn't just going to kill him out of jealousy, but thought she could actually replace him as most popular in the year. She assessed her reflection in the mirror. It could go to Joshua's crew, forgotten without him, and switch over to her trio, herself being the best looking of the three, of course, confirmed by asking her mother who the prettiest out of them was, which meant top spot for herself according to Mindy's standing around the best looking kid in the year theories. There was a clap of thunder and a strike of lightning outside, and Janice nearly jumped out of her skin as a man was standing in front of her in her bedroom. He had appeared out of nowhere. "What the hell?" Janice exclaimed. "Who the hell are you? How did you just pop into my room like that?" Janice half shouted, home alone at the time. "So, when are you going to buy the knife?" the man rumbled in a deep English-accented voice. He was very handsome, with tan-skinned and astonishing emerald-green eyes. She had never seen anyone who looked like him before. He was astonishingly beautiful, a term she hadn't really used for either gender before. He looked around 25 to 30. He reminded her a little of Lestat from Queen of the Damned, a movie from around 2004. "Who are you?" she demanded again. The man didn't say anything. He just smiled a snaky smile. "Are you Lucifer?" she said. "Are you Satan?" she cried. "Why, what makes you think I'm Satan, that old dog?" cried the man, feigning innocence. "Well, I plan to murder someone for the first time, and suddenly a man appears in my room who doesn't look anything like anyone I've ever seen before. Luckily, I've seen Teen Angel and Sabrina the Teenage Witch, so I'm not too flabbergasted," Janice stated, impressing herself with her intelligence when it came to guessing. "Murder, killing, removing from existence the non-human being," said, jumping down to sit on her bed and jumping up and down on it excitedly. Janice didn't say anything and stared at him. "Okay, fine then," the non-human said. "I am an immortal. You're not far off with Lucifer or Satan. Are those names both for the same dude?" he asked questioningly, shrugging his shoulders. "I'm an immortal. A bad immortal," he added. "Are you a vampire?" Janice asked, eyes widening. No, the bad immortal said. "I'm something way better." "What's better than being a vampire?" Janice asked. "Oh, you silly thing," the immortal said. "Not having to drink human blood, of course, to survive. I just have powers. I never age. I can fly. I can teleport. I can conjure," he said, conjuring a red rose in his hand and then making it disappear. "Where did you come from?" Janice demanded to know. "Oh, forget that for now," the immortal said. "Just call me Rianne for now," he advised. "Rianne?" Janice spat, confused. "Yes, Rianne. That's my nickname," he smiled. Janice didn't say anything. "So we're friends?" asked Rianne, raising his eyebrows. "Well, yes, if you're bad like me. Can you help me kill Joshua?" Janice grinned, glad he had popped in to help wherever he was from. Knowing from TV it wouldn't hurt to have an immortal around. "Do you know who I'm talking about?" she asked. "Of course I do," Rian exclaimed. "Everyone knows who Joshua is." Janice's face dropped. I kid. I watch all goings on planet Earth invisibly. I noticed you and like tuning in. You and your friends aren't so different from myself, Rianne added. Janice smiled broadly at the flattery. Well, I'm the leader, but I'm not going to involve them. Don't think they're quite certificate 18 like myself, if you know what I mean. Still on PG and Universal. Maybe in the future. They're not quite as committed as myself to acting on jealousy. A little less passionate. Maybe in the future, a few more issues with universities thrown in, Janice mused. So, are you going to help me kill him? Janice asked. Just think of me as an advisor. I don't want to ruin your fun by doing it for you. You'll want to feel the power of taking his life away from him. It's the best bit. A knife is the easiest way, so you were right about that, Rianne advised. Okay, when shall I do it? When will he be by himself? Should I follow him after school? Janice asked excitedly. Best to have the cover of darkness, Rianne advised, so no one sees you. Don't forget to buy a balaclava too when you go knife shopping. Okay, but when? Janice asked, happy for the help. Give me a few moments. I'll be right back, Rianne said. Rianne popped out of her room and Janice stared at the air. A few moments later, he reappeared. Great news, Rianne said. I've just been spying invisibly on Joshua and his friend. They're going to a party in 3.5 weeks on a Saturday. Some girl's house party. Don't think you know her, he added. Janice felt jealous momentarily about Joshua's going to a girl's house party, whom she didn't know and obviously wouldn't be invited to. He told his friend he is definitely going, Rianne added. Okay, Janice said, getting excited again, anticipation rising in her heart. So, I'll do it when Janice starts becoming dependent on the immortal? You do it just before he enters the clearing in front of his house on his way to the doorstep, Rianne advised expertly. So wait for him to walk past at the end of his road and then follow him during the steps up to his house, Janice confirmed. Yes, said Rianne. The party is finishing at 1:30, so be at the end of the road from about 1:35 a.m. Okay, Janice said excitedly. This is so great having your help. Can you spend the evening with me so I can get out of the house? I'll just tell my mum it's my friend's birthday and I'm out until late. I certainly can, Rianne exclaimed. Wait, are you going to be invisible or visible? I don't want to look like I'm talking to myself, Janice asked. I'll tone myself down a little from my oh-so-glorious appearance so I fit in with the humans, Rianne said. We may as well go out to eat, Rianne said. Murder does make one rather hungry. Keep the knife and balaclava in a handbag. Lovely, he added. Okay, it's a plan, Janice said ecstatically. It certainly is, Rianne added. Chapter 6. Rianne and Janice were in a bar near Joshua's house called the Tavern. Rianne had had a burger like he wanted. Janice felt too excited to eat much. Rianne had shown off some of his magic to Janice by compelling the bartender not to check for Janice's ID. She didn't drink any alcohol for her mind to stay sharp and thought about being a killer before she'd even had a drop of alcohol. She loved the thrill of being in a bar barely 5 minutes from Joshua's house. So, Rianne said. It was 11:30. How are you feeling? He asked, anticipation in his eyes. I can't wait, exclaimed Janice. Thank you so much for your help. She clutched her handbag for a moment, which was laying next to her on the seat. It had the knife in it, which she had brought a few weeks ago, and a balaclava. Rianne stretched his arms on the seat and smiled, listening happily to the music from the 90s. They listened to the music comfortably for the next 2 hours and waited. At 1:25 a.m., Rianne said, It's time. Janice got up excitedly and grabbed her bag. They stepped into the cold night air. Janice felt her heart rising into her throat. She was moments away from removing Joshua from existence permanently and hopefully replacing him as most popular in the year group. Janice walked silently next to Rianne, making their way to the street Joshua lived on. Okay, let's wait here, Rianne said when they got to the end of the road and turned right and stood a little way into the next road. Let's pretend we're hugging, he said, wrapping his arms around Janice. Shall I put on my balaclava? Asked Janice. Just hide your face into my jacket. I'll tell you when he arrives, Rianne advised. Janice waited with her face completely buried into Rianne's black jacket. About 6 minutes later, he whispered, He's here. Let's go. Janice got the balaclava out of her bag and put it on. She could see Joshua crossing the road to walk up to his house on the opposite side of the street. Go, whispered Rianne. Janice pulled the knife out of her bag. She watched Joshua cross the road. Once he was in front of her with his back to her, Janice began to run speedily. Joshua was only a few feet in front of Janice. She raised the knife into the air, getting ready to catch up with him and plunged the knife into his back. However, Janice could not move. It felt like a force field was holding her back. She tried to move forward, but her feet could not move. The knife would not move any further. It was like an invisible barrier was in front of her. She was nearly in tears. Panic rising in her throat, Joshua turned into the entrance to his house and she heard the door close behind him. "No," she whispered, still unable to move. She could hear cackling in the air. It was Rianne cackling. Janice had no idea what had happened, but was incredibly freaked out by the barrier stopping her. She ran back to where she had been standing with Rianne. He was nowhere to be seen. Cackling filled the air again, and Janice slumped to the ground, devastated by her failed murder attempt. Chapter 7. Janice was back in her room about half an hour later. She had hurried back in the dark to her house and put her bag underneath her bed. Her mother and father were in bed. She turned the light on, scared by the force field she had felt. What had happened? Was that magic that saved Joshua? Was there a good immortal out there protecting him? Janice sat on her floor, rocking backwards and forwards. Janice heard a clap of thunder again and a flash of lightning, and Rianne was standing in front of her, grinning. "What happened?" she cried, tears streaming down her face. "Why didn't it work? Why couldn't I move? What was that force field stopping me? It works in all the movies," she spluttered. "Oh, Janice," Rianne said patronizingly, laying down on her bed with his arm resting under his cheek, turned to face her. "Are you Satan? Why wasn't it like the movies?" Janice asked again, spluttering. "Oh, Janice, if I'm real, as you can see, and I said that I am a bad immortal, which means Satan exists, that means God exists too. It didn't work because Joshua is good. God protects everyone from murder or anything equivalent until they say yes to someone else's murder over jealousy or start planning it themselves. Then they lose his protection. The force field was God's shield." "No," moaned Janice. "There's more," said Rianne, feigning concern. "You're also locked out of heaven, like the song," Rianne said, grinning slyly. "Locked out of heaven?" Janice said questioningly. "Yes, heaven is real. You turned to evil and murder, so no place for you there anymore. No magical powers, no immortality, no palace or amazing Disneyland times 1,000,000,000,000,000,000 for all of eternity," he said. Janice stared at him, wanting to scream, "No!" It was the worst feeling in the world knowing you'd been locked out of heaven. Her heart felt like it was beating in her mouth again. "Oh yeah, one more thing," said Rianne. "Planning Joshua's murder and deciding on it means you lost your protection from God, so you can die now. Better start wearing a bulletproof vest, or be careful not to make anyone jealous of yourself. Maybe cancel next year's talent show just in case." Rianne chuckled and started fading away. "Wait," Janice begged. "That means you knew it wouldn't work and let me go along with it. Why?" Rianne laughed. "It's how I get my kicks and entertainment. It was too soon to tell you you were locked out as soon as you decided on it and dropped the big man's protection. Thought I'd have more fun with you. Real fun," he laughed again, ready to start fading out again. "One more thing," Janice begged before he could go. "If the protection lifts once someone is in on murder, does that mean if I succeeded in turning Joshua evil, his protection would drop and then I would be able to kill him? Salvage something out of this at least," Janice said. "Yes," Rianne said. "Of course you'll have to find a way to make him jealous of someone." He started cackling again and disappeared completely, another clap of thunder and flash of lightning in the air. Janice looked at herself in the mirror. "I'll do whatever it takes," she pledged to herself. "Whether it takes 10 years or longer, I'll become Joshua's friend, hit on him if I have to once he's done with his girlfriend, and won't stop until I've turned him evil and locked himself out of heaven, and then I'll kill him. I'll never tell anyone what happened today. It'll be okay. Everyone's jealous of something. University may be the time. New crowd, new issues. It'll be my life's mission," Janice promised herself in the mirror, wiping away her tears and seeing a way through. The end. So that's the end of The Courtyard. On to story 2 from the horror anthology called Your Best Friend's Wardrobe. Laura had finished university 2 years earlier and was currently working as a teaching assistant at a primary school. She had made a lot of friends at university from private and grammar schools and still often went into central London to go to clubs with themselves. She enjoyed the music and drinking alcohol on the weekends. When it came to her school friends from the local comprehensive, the old crew, she wasn't as close as she used to be to themselves. She used to catch up with them once in a blue moon. The old crew consisted of a few males and 2 girls she was still in touch with one of the girls who The old crew consisted of a few males and 2 girls. She was still in touch with one of the girls, but had lost contact with the other. Ryan had called her earlier on in the day and asked her to come to his house. Please, he pleaded with her. We can catch up like it's the old days. Lara wasn't sure about going by herself at first, but eventually agreed. She wasn't doing anything else that day and was on the school Easter holiday. Lara arrived at Ryan's house at around 7:30 p.m. Hi, Lara, Ryan said and opened his door, widely grinning. Lara stepped in. Shall I take my shoes off, she asked. Yeah, go on, said Ryan. She followed Ryan through to his living room and sat on his sofa. Ryan sat on his sofa too and stretched his legs out. He started flicking through the music video channels and Lara enjoyed watching them while he made conversation. So, how have you been? Ryan asked. Great, thank you, Lara responded. How's the TV store? She asked, a store where Ryan had become manager. Good, thanks, Ryan responded. They continued to watch music videos together and Lara managed to have a good time talking to Ryan without it feeling awkward like it was sometimes after starting university. Ryan got up to go to the kitchen. Hey, can I use your bathroom? Lara shouted to Ryan. Yeah, it's straight upstairs, Ryan called back in his deep voice. Lara got up from the couch and made her way to the stairs. She climbed the stairs straight upwards. When she got to the top of the stairs, she glanced to her left. A bedroom door was wide open. She could see inside. The light was on. She could see a brown wardrobe. The door was open to it. She squinted and thought she could see a picture of herself stuck onto the back of the wardrobe. She paused for a second and then stepped quietly into the bedroom. When she had entered the room, she tentatively moved the hung-up clothes out of the way. She gasped as she recognized her own Twitter profile picture stuck on the back of the wardrobe. In front of her image was around 5 candles arranged into a circle. In the middle of the circle were some twigs and stones, things she didn't recognize. She pushed the clothing in the wardrobe further back. Lara's hands clapped straight onto her mouth as she saw a head in the corner of the wardrobe next to her picture. The head was burned and unrecognizable. The head looked like it had been quite good-looking as she could make out the chiseled features on the face. Lara was frozen in disbelief and glanced back at her picture, trying to get her thoughts together. Her uncle had passed away the summer before, and a week or 2 after that, one friend in the car had said his uncle was in a coma in Canada. A couple of months earlier, Ryan had turned up to the local bar around 20 minutes from their hometown. He had mysteriously disappeared around half an hour into the night out and looked upset about something. The next day when Lara asked him where he had disappeared to over the phone, Ryan had said, Really sorry, I just found out that my great-uncle had died. Lara had half ignored him, thinking that the entire town had a compulsive lying disorder, and were just saying that uncle had died to copy her the summer before. It was that stupid of a generation. Lara stared in disbelief and horror, wondering if the whole town or borough were going on an uncle killing spree. Did that mean hers had been murdered too? Hi, Lara, she heard Ryan's slithery voice behind her. Lara froze and slowly turned around to look into the dark, soulless eyes of her old best friend, Ryan. The end. That's the end of Your Best Friend's Wardrobe. On to story 3, Demon in the Computer. Tina had the light turned out in her bedroom and was typing an essay out on her laptop. She had her glasses on, sometimes wishing she had never bothered with a master's in political theory. She had a few textbooks opened up on her bed to reference from. She glanced at her clock radio. It was 11:30 p.m. Tina stopped typing and stared at her laptop, zoning out for a second, wishing she could get to the end of her essay and start relaxing. She stared at the next empty page of her essay for a minute or 2. To her dismay and shock, the cursor started to move, typing out words to her 1 letter at a time. Hello was on the screen in front of her. What the hell, she commented out loud, shocked, heart stilling for a moment. What's your name? The cursor typed back. Tell me. I just want to be your friend. Type something back. Tina typed out her name, Tina. How is this possible? She typed out. Both their words disappeared from the page and the cursor started typing out words again. Tina, that's a nice name. My name is Malthus. I'm your friend. I feel trapped at the moment. Do you want to help liberate me, Tina? Tina stopped for a moment, warming to what she thought was a male presence. Trapped, she thought to herself. I wonder why, she thought as she frowned. Okay, how can I help liberate you? Tina typed out, smiling slightly. Just copy and paste these words. Malthus typed out, No med live à me. No med live à me, Tina read out to herself. Okay, she thought to herself. She copied the word and pasted it onto the screen. The screen blinked, turning black for a split second and white again. She heard a ha 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 come out of the laptop. She saw a red image swirl on the screen and saw a demon's head twisted and ugly with 2 horns in front of her. It smirked an evil smirk, and to her horror started coming out of the laptop towards her. It whooshed out of her laptop and she felt a rush of cold air. His head had left the laptop and a red and black swirl attached to his head followed behind him. "Thanks," he said, dark voice in the air. "Password, I am evil demon," he said out loud. Tina looked back in horror at the page and read the words backwards. "I am evil demon," it read. "What have I done?" she thought to herself, eyes widening. "Thanks for freeing me," the demon head said, smiling his toothy, twisted grin, grotesque, twisted, and horrible. "Ha ha," he said. "See you around." His head and swirly neck sped out through the window into the night air, released onto Tina's planet. Tina got up off the bed and looked outside the window. She could see the head float over the trees. "What have I done?" she said out loud, staring back through the window, unsure what evil she had released into her universe. The demon head faded into invisibility, and Tina's heart gripped in fear, unsure of what evil malevolence would be unleashed into the world. The end. So thank you everyone for listening to episode 4 of my podcast Book and Story World with author Priya Grewal. That was all 3 stories from my anthology, an anthology of short horror stories: The Courtyard, Your Best Friend's Wardrobe, and Demon in the Computer. So that concludes episode 4 of my podcast. Just want to say thank you everyone for listening, and hope everyone has a lovely week. And thank you to everyone out there who has supported me with writing as well. So take care everyone. Have a good week. Until next time. See you.